watching closely.
What's the secret, Max?
You just gotta find something you love to do and then do it for the rest of your life.
I don't want to be a product of my environment. I want my environment to be a product of me.
Hello, and welcome to the Establishing Shot, a podcast where we do deep dives into directors and their filmographies. I am your host, Eli Price, and we are here on episode 95 of the podcast. This is an exciting time. We're kind of wrapping up the middle part of Spielberg's career, looking forward to the last little stretch of his career. And you may remember, if you've been following along with the series, that we did a little intermission in between the 80s and 90s and kind of did this same sort of thing. We looked back at some of the things about Spielberg's career in those first two decades, looked forward to what was to come in the 90s and 2000s. And we're going to do a similar thing here. Another Spielberg intermission, if you will. With someone with a long career of Spielberg, it's nice to take a little break and kind of just get an establishing shot of where we are in his career, kind of going along with the name of the show. So that's what we're going to be doing today. We're going to be kind of doing a look back of his career over the 90s and 2000s, and then we're going to look forward to what's to come in this last stretch of his career, the last 15 years of his career, from the 2010s and then the two movies he's made in the 2020s. So I'm excited to jump into that. We're going to do that. Then I'm going to kind of share some favorite performances and favorite moments, favorite discoveries of these last two decades. Maybe give an update on my personal rankings of Spielberg's films. And then I'll kind of talk about what I'm most anticipating in these last, I think it's 8 movies, 8 or 9 movies. I think it is 9 now that I'm looking at it. I'm ready to jump into that. Before I do that, I would love to, instead of doing the typical kind of calls to action breaks that I do, I'm just going to right off the bat tell you a few ways you can support the show. First and foremost, go leave a review. Take a moment. Pause the podcast, go on, it's most helpful to do on Apple or Spotify. Even if you don't listen on those platforms, you can still go leave a rating and review on them. I would greatly appreciate that, but you can leave ratings and reviews on whatever platform you listen on as well. Any of that really helps the show. It helps kind of make it more visible to others that might want to check the show out. So if you are enjoying the show or not, whatever, just go leave a review. I would love for you to do that. The other quick thing you can do that's easy and free is to just follow on social media. If you don't want to find pretty much everywhere except for Twitter, I'm at Establishing Shot Pod. On Twitter, it's eShotPod because the handles couldn't be as long. But if you don't want to remember that, you can check out the episode notes. Just click all of them, follow, subscribe on YouTube. It would just be great for you to follow. That's also where I post like the polls for the movie drafts, everything like that. So you can engage with those sorts of posts. Sometimes I'll ask questions and do different kinds of polls too. I would love for you to engage in that way too. That helps get the show more visible too, sharing posts, commenting on and replying on posts. So you can go do that. If you want one other quick free thing that you can do to interact with the show, if you really want to, is go on our website, which is establishingshotpod.com. And on the side, whether you open on mobile or your desktop browser, over on the right hand side, there should be a little thing that says leave a voicemail, has a little microphone icon, something like that. If you click on that, it'll pop up and you can leave a little voice recording. You can share something you've enjoyed about the show. You can share something that you disagree with that's been on the show. You can ask a question, anything really. If you want to know about something about movies, about Spielberg, if you want, if there's something about Spielberg I haven't covered that you would like for me to, you can leave a voicemail about that. If you want to know more about me, whatever, feel free to leave a voicemail. It's free, it's quick, it's easy. You can do that. The last way you can support the show, and probably, maybe not more important than leaving reviews for the show, but important to keep the show going, because this does cost money to host the website, to get the Blu-rays, so that I can do all the research, to Riverside, so I can make the highest quality recordings with guests. To pay for all that, it costs money, and I do have some different tiers you can support the show with, starting at $5 a month. It's like, less than a latte a month. You can support the show. And I would love for you to do that. One of the benefits of supporting the show, that is a fun benefit, is you get to pick a movie that I have to review, any movie you want that I have to review on the show at some point during the year. So each year you get to pick that. Now, if I get like tons of supporters, huge, I'll have to like reassess that. But as of now, I don't have a whole lot of supporters, which is another reason to support me. Get in on the front end. You can pick a movie for me to review. It'll be fun. And so, I would love for you to support the show in that way. I have a couple different tiers with different benefits for you that I try to do. You get the episodes a little bit early as well. So you can find all of that on establishingshotpod.com. If you click on the donate, I think it says donate. It'll be obvious how to find that once you get on the website and look at the menu for the site. So please do that. Check out the different tiers. Please support the show in that way if you can. I would greatly, greatly appreciate it. I'll give you a shout out if you do. And all of that out of the way, we can jump into the Spielberg intermission now. So 90s and 2000s, the last 2 decades that we've covered. This all started with Hook, his first movie of the 90s. You have the big year of 93 with Jurassic Park and Schindler's List in the same year. His last movie of the 90s and Saving Private Ryan, and then kicking off the 2000s with AI, artificial intelligence. And then, last movie that we covered, the Kingdom of the Crystal, Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, comes out at the end of the 2000s in 2008. And so we have 13 movies rather, that he released during these 2 decades. So a lot of work that we covered, a lot of interesting things. Very, very busy guy, this Spielberg, during this time. In fact, you may recall, I think I shared this fact in the last intermission episode, but 1992 was the only year between 1977 and 2013 with no movie directed or produced by Spielberg. So even in those years, where he's not directing movies, he's producing a bunch of movies. He launched Amblin during this time, and DreamWorks in 94. he launched, which had its animation counterpart. It was spun off in 2004. So through DreamWorks, he produced 24 films before even the year 2000. So it launched in 1994. By 2000, he had produced 24 films through DreamWorks. He didn't necessarily have a credit on all those, but they're all he has a hand in everything that was coming through DreamWorks at that time. So heavy workload for Spielberg during this time, and if you recall too, at this transition point in his career, between the 80s and 90s, he's really considered by critics and fans and peers, not necessarily negatively, but just artistically marginal. You know, he has industry success. Fans and critics like him for what he does, but he's not really considered like an artistic movie maker. So he's coming off a rocky section of his career with Always, and Hook. Obviously Last Crusade is in there. The color purple had its controversy around it. Empire of the Sun wasn't like a big hit or anything. So he's kind of coming off this, iffy section of his career. And then 1993, Jurassic Park and Schindler's List, he shows I can innovate the whole movie industry with technology and make a fun, exciting blockbuster. But I'm also not artistically marginal. I can make a very artistic, serious drama film about the Holocaust and do it successfully. And so this is probably the high point of him in this equilibrium between his roles as like director, producer, movie mogul. He's just at the height of his powers. He can do whatever he wants. And so it's interesting to see coming off of that through the 90s and 2000s what he chooses to do with that. And one of the things he chooses to do is to start taking breaks between films that he's directing. So he has 5 3-year breaks between films after Schindler's List. So it's 3 years until The Lost World comes out. And then you have, 3 years before that comes out. Then you have, that Lost World, Amistad, Saving Private Ryan. And then you have another 3-year break before AI. Then you have AI, Minority Report, and Catch Me If You Can, and then you have a couple-year break, and you got The Terminal and War of the Worlds. Then you have another break, and Munich also. Then you have another break before Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. And technically, he shot 10-10 in 2009, so he's really doing the heavy part of his work on that movie also in the 2000s, right there after Indiana Jones. So, but it doesn't come out for another couple of years, just the turnover with animation and stuff. So, you start to see him taking breaks, not feeling like he has to just like constantly pump out movies, every year or two. So that's one of the things. He also is kind of starting to balance. He's finding this. It starts with the Jurassic Park Schindler's List success. He kind of figures out, okay, whenever I try to mix my fun blockbuster movie with a more serious subject, it hasn't seemed to go over well. And so he kind of splits his sensibilities in that way. He makes Jurassic Park, Schindler's List, and so you start to see this kind of balance between serious and more fun movies. I kind of counted up about 6.5 more serious movies and 6.5 more fun movies. It's like this perfect balance. I kind of counted Catch Me If You Can. It's kind of like a half and half. It's serious at times, but it's also a really fun movie at the same time. So there's obviously a bit of overlap in all of the movies as far as that goes, with even more serious films being entertaining in a way. But yeah, so he's balancing his work to like home life with his breaks and whatnot, but he's also balancing like his sensibilities in his movie making, and I think that's very important for just the trajectory of his career, and his success. Another thing I noticed is that he really kind of, over this period, he really solidified the look and the feel of his films. And maybe this was due to his partnership with Janusz Kaminski, which started with Schindler's List. But he's really like honing in on his, lighting and his composition, his scene composition, his framing, and even really his like actor directing as well. I think he's really like honing in his mastery of these things to the degree to that, like by the end of the 90s and really like, especially by the end of the 2000s, like you just have, what a Spielberg movie is going to be, not in a bad way, but just a Spielberg movie has a distinct look and feel. Even if it's like a more serious movie or a more fun movie, he's really like honed in and mastered like what he does well. And so, the way I was saying that just a second ago made it sound like a negative thing, but really it's him honing in on what he is best at. And then just like, it's basically like making your strengths stronger. It's that sort of idea. And yeah, I think of like in Munich, I've always thought like ever since Raiders that Spielberg just has this incredible sense of action geography and helping the audience get all the information they need to follow what's going on in an action sequence. And I think like the culmination of that is a scene in Munich, where they have a bomb and a phone going off, and they're in the street, and you see the window where the bomb is supposed to go off, and it's just there's a ton of stuff going on in that moment, but you're never lost. You can see all of it. You know where everyone is. You have a sense of what's going on, and I think that's just like the peak of that thing that he does well, that he's kind of honed in by the end of the 2000s. And so, yeah, I really love seeing him come into just who he is. There's, in the 80s, there was kind of this, and even like into Hook, it was just this, he was uncomfortable. You could kind of feel it with his movies. He was trying new things, but he wasn't like completely comfortable in his own directorial clothes, if you will. But man, by the end of the 2000s, I just think he knows who he is, and he knows what he does best, and he's going to do it. And the last thing I would say about this period of time is that it's kind of a period of innovation for Spielberg. It kicks off with the dinosaurs in Jurassic Park. And you can maybe argue with the incredible set that Hook has, was pretty like, I don't know that that's innovative though. That's just kind of like old Hollywood, incredible set. But the technology for the dinosaurs in Jurassic Park, huge innovation in film. It really like the beginning of the modern era of CGI. Incredible. And then to make a hit film about the Holocaust, that's huge. Kind of I don't know that he's redefining anything necessarily, but he definitely like, it makes a wave in the movie industry of, oh, this is the type of film that can get us awards, that can get people to come see it, make it important, that sort of thing. He kind of, maybe you could say redefines, I think a better word maybe reinvigorates the war movie with Saving Private Ryan. That intro scene is just, like nothing you'd really ever seen before in a war film. So kind of reinvigorates that with that movie. And now he's kind of, the other thing that I had noted was, the sci-fi blockbuster. Now, he's not creating the sci-fi blockbuster. He's kind of riding the wave of the sci-fi blockbuster. You think of like Independence Day in the 90s and stuff. But he's riding that wave. But what he's doing is kind of reimagining it. He's taking what people like about that and infusing it with like more seriousness. And, you know, you think of the melancholy of AI and Minority Report too, really. There's a seriousness that he infuses those movies with. I would even say War of the Worlds, you know, he kind of infuses with a serious overtone. And so I thought that was interesting. And then technically too, the motion capture work for Tintin was started. Like I said, that was all shot in 2009. So even by the end of the 2000s, he's like, okay, let's try this motion capture thing. And so, yeah, with Peter Jackson and his company. So yeah, it's all very interesting. These past 2 decades of his career, not all of them were critically well received, but most of them were. And really, like, in that whole run, the only movie that you could say was a financial misfire was Amistad. He doesn't really miss as far as like financial success during this period. Even his like lesser critically received movies like The Terminal, or I don't know, War of the Worlds is tough. War of the Worlds made a lot of money. And he doesn't really miss. Even The Terminal makes a decent amount of money. Amistad is really the only one that doesn't. And I think personally it wasn't a great movie. So it kind of makes sense. But yeah, Amistad is really the only financial misfire. He's basically a sure thing for the studios. So that's a good probably transition to looking forward to the 2010s and 2020s. So the last 15 years of his career, that financial surety kind of carries over into the next decade. Now, maybe not to the same degree. That's the caveat. All of his movies are mildly successful. Not really many of them blow up. His only really big, huge hit is Ready Player One. And that's not, it's not like a big critical success. It's kind of, people are very mixed on Ready Player One for the most part. But it does make a ton of money. I think it made, over 600,000, which is really big for a movie like that. So, the rest of his movies are basically like, just kind of, all of the 2010s movies are mild successes. It's like, okay, like we made money, but maybe not as much as we had hoped for. They're all that kind of thing. It's like, okay, we can justify that this was a good decision to make this movie as far as like this is like studio speak, but maybe this didn't make us as much as we wanted. But yeah, so that financial security carries over into the next decade, but to a lesser degree, I would say. He also carries over this balance of serious and fun movies. I would put this at 3.5 fun to 5.5 serious movies. West Side Story, I would say, is kind of half and half. Maybe more on the fun side, so you could say 5 to 4, 5 serious to 4 fun. But I know Spielberg's having a lot of fun making it. So, but carrying over that balance as well as the kind of breaks that he's taking in between kind of 2 to 3 film runs. But the thing about this is the 2010s is largely considered his weakest decade. And so what's going to be interesting to me is going through this decade and kind of figuring out why that is. Is it because all of these movies are kind of like only mild successes, both critically and financially? Is it because he only has one big, huge blockbuster hit? Is it because the types of movies he's making are kind of just more apt to have mixed reviews from both audiences and critics alike. It does seem like he's kind of choosing films that are interesting to him more, starting in the 2010s. And so, instead of catering more to the audience, is it because he's catering more to his own just preferences and what he wants to make, more than worrying about what the audience wants to have and see? And so, that is a question. I would say that started in the 2000s with all of his sci-fi movies and making something like The Terminal, making something like Munich. I would say he's starting to less worry about what audiences want and more about what he wants to make. But definitely maybe the 2010s is where we see the result of that kind of in the reception, maybe. I don't know. These are all interesting questions that I think we'll be able to parse out over the course of the last stretch of this series. I would say too, there's really only one big standout film that got a lot of good reception. People were talking about, and that's Lincoln. With Daniel Day-Lewis's performance and just like the kind of honed in, focused on one small period of a life biopic sort of thing. So I'm interested to explore that as well. And then the 2020s. So this will be interesting because this is post-pandemic movies, with West Side Story coming out in 2021. And The Fabelmans in 2022, I believe. Yes. And these are financially huge flops. West Side Story, I think, cost like $100 million and only made like 40-ish. And The Fabelmans cost, it was about the same. It cost about $40 million and made about $40 million. So lost a lot of money on West Side Story, and then kind of came out even kind of on The Fabelmans. But those are two big passion projects. West Side Story he had wanted to make for so long. And we'll talk about that when we get to it. But he wanted to make that movie for forever, but wanted to wait until he was ready to make it. Unfortunately, it released in this post-pandemic era where people just weren't going to see movies in theaters. I was able to go see these last two movies in theaters, and I'm so grateful for it, because I think they're just phenomenal movies. But yeah, it's interesting. It's like it's like he's really just choosing things he wants to do and his passion projects. But yeah, I don't think that's the reason for them, because the critical reception of the movies is really, really great, and really audience, as far as I can tell too, people really liked these movies. But just the era that they came out in, this post-pandemic era, people just weren't going to theaters. That's starting to turn around in the past couple of years, but in 21 and 22, it still wasn't. So it'll be interesting to see. There's this new movie that's supposed to be like a UFO movie potentially. The title that's out there is The Dish. You have Josh O'Connor, Emily Blunt, Coleman Domingo attached to the project. That's supposed to potentially come out next year in 2026. So it'll be interesting to see, now that things have kind of turned around with people going to movies theaters again, are people gonna show up for a Spielberg movie? So that'll be interesting to see, and I'm excited for that. But yeah, that's kind of the look back and the look forward. Let's go through. I'm gonna go back. We're gonna kind of go back to the 90s and 2000s at this point, and just kind of talk about some of my favorite things about those two decades of his films. So the first thing I'll do is go through my favorite performances. In Jurassic Park, my two favorite performances were Laura Dern as Ellie and Jeff Goldblum as Malcolm. For one, it's just really funny to me that they have great chemistry. They're the ones that have the great chemistry instead of Laura Dern and Sam Neill. It just kind of funny to me, I guess. But yeah, I think they give Jeff Goldblum is just like steals scenes with his charisma. Laura Dern is just doing classic Laura Dern, just like she just exudes emotions and you just feel it through the screen. Incredible. Schindler's List, obviously, it's the two obvious ones. Liam Neeson as Oscar Schindler. I think he's just phenomenal in that role. And Ralph Fiennes as Arnaud. Both just two iconic, phenomenal performances. Don't really need to, expand on that at all. But Amistad, didn't love the movie. What I did love was Djimon Hounsou as Cinque. Oh my gosh, this dude! It's his first performance really ever in a movie, in a feature film for sure. And the dude just like is incredible. I don't think Amistad is a good movie, but I would say go watch the movie just to watch this dude because he is incredible in it. Yeah, I loved him in it. And it's incredible that it was his first ever real role in a movie. Loved Hunso, and I don't know how to say his last name, honestly. Hunsu or Hansu or Hunso, I don't know. AI, artificial intelligence. Love Haley Joel Osment as David. One of the great child performances, I think. He just like the eyes, the way he, I don't know, he's just great. And then Jude Law as Gigolo Joe is just great. A lot of fun. It's a performance with a capital P. We'll just say that. Catch Me If You Can. Love Leo DiCaprio as Frank Abagnale Jr. Obviously. But I really love too Christopher Walken as his dad. I think that he really he plays the kind of he just plays that part exactly how it needs to be played. The kind of weaseliness of him, the kind of strange charisma he has, the way that it feels like he cares, but then the way the way he comes off is you're not sure anymore. I don't know. There's just a lot about the way he kind of carries himself and just the Christopher Walken-ness of him all that fits so well with that role. And I really loved Amy Adams as Brenda Strong too. Really funny performance. She's doing a whole lot and this is her breakout role, really, I would say. Maybe not as the lead, but kind of her breakout supporting role that maybe gets her the breakout lead roles in the future. But I really enjoyed her too. In War of the Worlds, my big performance was Dakota Fanning as Rachel Ferrier. She's just another phenomenal child acting. That's maybe one thing I didn't mention in my look back is, got some more good child acting done in that decade, in those couple decades. So Munich, man, there's a lot. It's a big ensemble in a way of not big names. That's the funny thing. It's like an ensemble cast of that guys. So Eric Bana as Avner though is phenomenal. I think he just carries I don't know. He kind of carries a lot of weight and emotion through the movie in his performance. Michael Lonsdale, when he pops up as Papa, is just great. He just draws you in, charismatic. And then I really enjoyed Matthew Amalric as Louis. I thought he kind of was a great sort of necessary evil sort of guy in the movie. Just kind of carried that that sketchiness and that I don't know, evil kind of guy sort of performance very well. Those are my favorite performances. I mean, obviously you love Harrison Ford as Indy anytime he's in the movie. Karen Allen and him still had great chemistry, so she was great in Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. And I guess I should mention I did like Cate Blanchett's kind of like campy villain as well. So favorite shots or moments in the 90s and 2000s. For Hook, I just kind of have cool sets. Now, I did love the shot of when Hook and Pan are sword fighting, and you see the shadows of them sword fighting. I think that's incredible. Just movie making shot. But yeah, other than that, just cool sets in that. Jurassic Park moments. Obviously, the T-Rex reveal is just an incredible sequence. Some of these are just going to be kind of things that I have noted, but I'm going to say them nonetheless. But the other thing I really love in Jurassic Park is it has these moments where it slows down and builds character a little bit before you jump back into the action. And one of my favorite ones of those is when Sam Neill's Grant is in the tree with the two kids and it kind of connects, and it's kind of like a character growth moment with him and kids sort of thing. Love that. Schindler's List, there's lots of incredible ones. Maybe one that doesn't get talked about a whole lot that has stuck in my mind for some reason that I noted here is there's this moment where it's been a while since I've seen it, and so it's hard for me to remember who the characters are or anything like that. But there's a couple of women who, for some reason, end up outside of the train when they're about to be shipped off for a moment. And, obviously at this point, the women and men have kind of been separated. And so there's these, I don't know if it's two women. My memory's a bit fuzzy. It's either two women or a mother and a daughter that are kind of under the train for some reason or another. And they get this moment of just kind of hope and grace where they get to see their husband and son across the way behind a fence. They get to show each other that they're okay. It's just this moment of it really struck me as this hopeful and moment in the midst of such evil and dread. This moment that these women were, and men too, I guess, and their sons were given to just have hope, to have a moment of grace, of mercy. So loved that. The Lost World, Jurassic Park, love the sequence with the raptors in the grass, the way, you see them coming from the grass falling. Love that. Really just some good tension building moments in that movie. Even if I didn't love the movie, didn't even really like it a whole lot, other than some of the, like I said, these tension building. There's this moment where the trailer's hanging and can't remember who it is that's down there where the glass is cracking, but the way he uses the glass cracking to build the tension is great. Amistad, anything with Cinque. That's it. Saving Private Ryan, obviously, the D-Day sequence on Omaha Beach. I mean, that's really the standout for me from Saving Private Ryan. I guess there's this moment where the medic is kind of giving this monologue about faking sleeping when his mom would come check on him after her night shifts or whatever. That was really compelling to me. I remember. So that's probably another standout one from Saving Private Ryan. And AI, it's really there's just a ton of shots or images that stick in your mind, like the image of the eye. If you're watching, I have AI back there, the Blu-ray behind me with the eyes. There it is, the blue eyes of David. I kind of have, if you're watching, I kind of have my still favorite Spielberg movie in Jaws, and then some of my favorites new watches that I'd never seen before. Back behind me, the Blu-rays. But sorry, just got distracted by that. But yeah, so AI is a bunch of images. One of the big ones is following David saying, "I'm sorry, I'm not real," to the mom, devastating. And then David, seeing him in the rearview mirror of the car. Oh man, such a great image. The image of him underwater staring at the ferry, with Teddy in the little car with him or whatever they're in. I can't, submarine or whatever. Great, just so many great, phenomenal imagery in that movie. The ending is devastating. I think people misread it at the time as like overly sentimental or corny or something. I don't know. But yeah, AI, a lot of great stuff there. Minority Report. One of my favorite things about that movie was the previsions. I thought those things were incredibly well put together. Very, very effective. Yeah, there's the eye replacement sequence from like when he's getting his eyes replaced all the way through the little spider bot things coming, the kind of overhead views of the apartments, seeing them spread out. Just great filmmaking there. Emotionally, when Agatha is telling the Cruise character, and his wife or ex-wife, hard for me to remember, I've only seen it the once, telling them about the life they never had, just emotionally devastating moment. Yeah, there's a lot of great stuff in Minority Report. Catch Me If You Can. All the phone calls. Those are some of my favorite parts whenever Frank calls up Hanratty. Love those moments. And then emotionally, the scene where it's the last meeting he has with his dad in the bar, I think it is. And he has the line where he's asking him if I don't know, something about being his father, and he says, "Then tell me to stop," I love that scene. The terminal, just the set, I guess. The set's really, really incredible, and that's the main thing I liked about the movie. But we'll move on from that. War of the Worlds, the intro to the aliens with people running and evaporating in the streets is an incredible action sequence. Tension building in both the van ambush scene, which is really great, and culminating, in him in the little diner with the kids. Great sequence. The basement where the tentacle comes down, searching because it hears a noise. That's a great sequence of tension. So good stuff in War of the Worlds. I could go on and on about Munich because I loved that movie, but the phone bomb sequence that I mentioned earlier is an incredible work of action, geography, tension building. Really, really great. There's the safe house convo between Avner and I think it's Ali. I can't remember exactly. But that conversation is very compelling. A moment that made me tear up was when he hears his daughter say "Dada" over the phone and breaks down. Really got to me. There's image wise, there's a lot, but one of the ones that I'll remember is the silhouette of Avner, Steve, and Hans dead on the bench, with the bridge and kind of blue, kind of colorization or whatever. Yeah, great in silhouette there. That ending conversation is super compelling. Yeah, a lot of great stuff in Munich. Crystal Skull, I would say the opening sequence with the cars and the vehicles all the way to the reveal of Indy and his interaction with the Cate Blanchett character. That's just top-notch Spielberg to me. And yeah, I think I remember in that episode me and I guess Jacob talking about this scene where he's silhouetted against this sheer sheet where you can see Indy through the sheet, but also like his silhouette is there on the sheet as well. Yeah, I don't know, just a great image for that moment in the movie. There's a few other things I really like about that too, but yeah, those are some of my standout like shots and moments from the 90s and 2000s. There's a ton more, obviously, but those are some that I wanted to note. Rankings, how would I rank the 90s and 2000s? So we'll leave the 70s and 80s out of it. Jaws is still my favorite, I think, at this point. But not far below them would be Schindler's List and Jurassic Park. I think Schindler's List is like a 5-star movie, so I would probably rather watch Jurassic Park, but maybe Schindler's List is probably, I would say, would like eke out as like the top movie, I guess, the best, quote unquote. Jurassic Park, I guess, right under it. Maybe put them tied. I don't know. But Munich would be after that. And Munich was like one of my favorite. I'll note which ones were my favorite, like discoveries, ones that I had never seen before. Munich, spoiler alert, the next 4 are those. And the next 3 are, my just loved. Munich was the first of those. Love the movie, still relevant today. Just really great. AI, artificial intelligence, would be next. I thought that was an incredible movie, as well as Minority Report. Two just really, really, really solid, great sci-fi movies to me. Never saw any of those 3 before, and just loved them. All 3 of those. So Saving Private Ryan 2, I think it's one that I didn't like love, if that makes sense, but think it's really incredibly made. So yeah, and I would have it. I had never seen it before, and so I have it kind of in a tier right under that Munich AI Minority Report. And so, and if you want to like compare to where I have it, so Schindler's List and Jurassic Park are kind of up in that tier with like Jaws and E.T. for me. And then I have like Munich and Last Crusade as kind of 9 out of 10, 4.5 stars right under that. And then, yeah, AI and Minority Report are kind of in a similar tier as Close Encounters and Raiders. Saving Private Ryan is in a similar tier to like Empire of the Sun, and I can't really look for it, but there's a few others in that tier that we haven't covered yet. And then I have Catch Me If You Can next. It's a movie that I like but don't love. And it's probably in a similar tier to Crystal Skull to me. The movies I really like but don't love. And then you get down to like his really middling films, in like War of the Worlds to me is a really middling film of his. It's got things to like about it, but isn't that great. Has enough problems. And then the movies that I didn't really care for a whole lot would be Amistad, The Lost World, Jurassic Park, and Hook. They're kind of in a tier of their own towards the bottom of Spielberg's movies. And then I just really didn't like The Terminal. I have it down there with like Always as movies that just didn't work for me at all. There just wasn't much redeemable to me about those movies. Yeah. So that's kind of where my Spielberg ranking set. I know y'all are like, the listener, you are just so excited that you got to hear my Spielberg rankings. But alas, this is my podcast and I like to make lists and rankings. And so here we are. But yeah, we have 15 years left to go through of Spielberg's career, 9 movies. I have seen all of these at this point except for one, maybe. Yeah, I only have one that I haven't seen. Technically, there was 2 that I hadn't seen, but I've already seen one of them and recorded the episode for 1010. I had not seen that before. Now I have. I was excited to visit that and fill in that blind spot, but now I have. But you'll have to wait till that episode to hear what my thoughts about it. So, yeah, the only other one I haven't seen is Warhorse. I wouldn't say like that's like, oh, I'm excited to fill in that blind spot, but I am interested to see how it is. I've started reading the audiobook for that. But yeah, I'm excited to rediscover a few movies. The three that I'm most excited to rediscover and see again are Lincoln, probably at the top, and then Bridge of Spies and The Post. Also, I'm excited to watch those movies again. It's been a long time since I've seen them, and I'm just excited to see them again. And maybe I might love them even more than I remember loving them before. So that's my hope, obviously. And then I'm really interested to reassess Ready Player One. I didn't really go for it. I saw it in theaters with my family back in, what was that, 2018? Yeah. And didn't love it. Had a lot of issues for me, if I remember right. And yeah, so I'm excited to reassess that and maybe come around on it as being one of the last films in this long series. So yeah, I'm excited about this next stretch in Spielberg's career. I hope you have enjoyed this journey with me so far. And I hope you stick with me to the end. It's been a long series, but it's been really rewarding and really fun. And so, yeah, we'll be going through a lot of the rest of the year. So buckle up. We're going to hit the 2010s and 2020s of Spielberg's career. And hopefully it'll be exciting. Yeah, just, before we go, again, please leave a rating and review of the show, especially on Apple and Spotify. But wherever you listen, it would be greatly appreciated. Go check out on establishingshotpod.com. You can see where to follow the show on all the socials. You can leave a voicemail if you want, and you can support the show financially, which really helps me keep doing the show. So, yeah, I would love for you to do all that. So with this little break between the 2000s and the 2010s, we're also taking a Spielberg break and filling in a movie that we haven't covered from a past director, which if you've been a long-time listener, then you know that we have not covered Oppenheimer from Christopher Nolan. We did that series and wrapped it up with Tenet. And so, yeah, I'm finally getting around to Oppenheimer. I already recorded that episode, and it was really great. And so a fun episode, tons to talk about with that movie. So I hope you look forward to that. That's going to come out next week. And I'll run an old movie draft the week after that, probably before we jump into the Adventures of Tintin. So in a few weeks, we have The Adventures of Tintin after we do the Oppenheimer episode next week. And then, we're coming up on episode 100 too. Not exactly sure what, I'll probably definitely do like a best of the year so far episode, along with episode 100. But, I've got to figure out a way to kind of celebrate being 100 episodes in. So, stay tuned for that. But yeah, that's really all I have for this week. I hope you've enjoyed it. Hope you stick through the rest of Spielberg with me. But that's it. I've been Eli Price, and you've been listening to The Establishing Shot. We will see you next time.
We were happy here. For a little while.
But look, I figure it this way. Better to be king for a night than schmuck for a lifetime.